Trinity, a Council of Nicaea, invention. This claim you will hear a lot online. A very fringe claim that is not talked about among scholars. I should say not claimed among scholars. Because it's just a really silly claim that people put forth today. We see this all the time. Muslims talk about it. People that are attempting to disprove Christianity in one way or another, it's always brought up in one way. So it's actually quite easy to show that the early church fathers definitely taught the Trinity, guys like Irenaeus and Polycarp and Tertullian. However, what if I were to tell you that the Trinity actually predates all of these people, all of the church fathers? Sounds crazy, but let us dive into it real quick. I'll be defending the claim that even Jewish people of their day believed in a type of Trinity. A little different because it wasn't all there, but they believed in a particular way of it. So let's start with a Old Testament passage, Genesis chapter 19, verse 24. It says, "Then Yahweh rained on Sodom and Gomorrah sulfur and fire from Yahweh out of heaven." That sounds weird. Yahweh rained because Yahweh told Yahweh to do so? Well, this is why even ancient Jews of their day would ask questions like, what's going on here? Is there two Yahwehs? Before I give you a complete answer, let us look at another passage. Genesis chapter 31, verses 11 through 13. It says, "Then the angel of God said to me in a dream, 'Jacob.' And I said, 'Here I am.' And he said," and then this verse continues. I'm not going to go over the full one because it can get pretty long. But and I want to keep this video short. But you can see here that the question is the reader, the Jewish man of the time, would have asked, who is the one speaking to Jacob here? Well, it's the angel of Yahweh. Then in verse 13, the angel of Yahweh says, "I am the God of Bethel." How? This angel now is claiming to be God. The angel of Yahweh is described a lot in the Old Testament. This isn't the only one. We see it in Judges. We see it in Deuteronomy. We see it in so many passages with Moses. It's everywhere in the Old Testament, specifically the first 5 books. Rabbis noticed this. This is the language that Jews believed in around the time of the Second Temple Judaism. It's called the two powers of heaven in Judaism. It was not a heresy. Many Jews believed it. However, in the early 2nd century, late 1st century, I should say, they all condemned it for obvious reasons. You sound like a Christian if you start talking like this. The word that they used was more so called Benatarianism, which is the belief of two persons of the same essence, which sounds a lot like Christianity's Trinitarianism. They just didn't have the Holy Spirit in there yet. That's the only thing that they weren't putting deep into. So, like I said, this belief goes back over 1,000 years before Constantine and anything of the Council of Nicaea. One resource that you guys can check out to go deeper into this if you'd like to see more scholarly work. First, I would recommend Michael Heiser. Another, I would recommend Alan Siegel, who he has a book called The Two Powers of Heaven. So, as we've said, we can see that Jews believed in two Yahwehs. This is why Jesus was condemned in Mark chapter 14, verse 60 through 64, 65, because Jesus claims to be that second power by quoting Daniel chapter 7, verses 13 and 14, and he applies it to himself. This is why they looked upon Jesus in that particular route at the end of Mark's gospel, because he's literally so visually claiming to be Yahweh in this. This is why they condemned him. This is why they all said he is worthy of death because of blasphemy. We also, another passage to confirm this idea is Exodus 15:3, where it says, "Yahweh is a man of war, Yahweh is his name." This is why in intertestamental Judaism, they believed God would come as a man. But obviously God is not a man, but God would come as this. This is why, again, they thought there was one God in two forms, which again is what Christians have been saying. So it's really interesting to see it this way. Obviously, some of you will object and say, well, this isn't a Trinity, this is only two. Of course, and that's what I've went in. But to show you how the Spirit is also God, I would have to do a separate video because that's another longer insight. I would have to do some other things to show you that kind of idea, show you some insight into that. But as we've seen so far, we can see that these Jews specifically believed in two Yahweh figures over these four verses that I mentioned from the Old Testament. So thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe for more content, and let me know what you guys think down below.